Hey guys, King of Charmander's here. Today I will be your judge, jury, and your analyst for the Ice Queen of Destruction, the Queen of the Retro Cup and the Holiday Cup in the past, the maniacal, destructive, I really don't know what else to say. Anyways, this is a video on the most powerful safe switch as well as the closer in the Retro Cup, which is Froslass. It's an ice and ghost type, and it's very interesting because the reason why it's super interesting is because it literally nukes and sweeps things as long as you give it energy and shields in metas where it's really strong. You can expect to see her a lot. Yeah, you're gonna see her a lot. Anyways, as you see here, what makes Froslass so good is that it's not super bulky, but it has pretty even stats, good attack, good stamina. If you resist something, so if you resist things like counter, like, well, yeah, you still resist counter, etc. But if you resist moves, you actually can live quite a bit of damage. And what makes Froslass so good, as you see here for its typings, is that because dark and steel types are banned, your only weaknesses are fire, ghost, and rock. Ghost is mostly going to be from lick damage, but because of Froslass's moveset in Powder Snow, Avalanche, and Shadow Ball, it can do a ton of damage before it goes down. Avalanche and Powder Snow hit really hard. Powder Snow got buffed in the previous season, so with Powder Snow being buffed, Froslass is just an absolute destroyer. She will take your elo. If you already made Legend, congratulations. If you aren't Legend yet, pray that you don't see one, and it has shield or energy advantage, because it's going to do a lot of damage. Along with that, because of Bastiodon being banned, etc., it's pretty safe from the Rock Throw archetype, so your only really big threat here is Fire and Ghost. And with Altaria running rampant, it's like fire types. You could still use Alola Marowak, but you're not going to, but it's very risky to run Alola Marowak. What makes it great is it does have a ton of resistances. Of course, you resist your own ice type. It also resists fighting. So the reason why it's such a great safe switch slash closer, it beats psychic types and it also beats fighting types pretty hard. You're going to have to do a lot of damage to a Froslass before it goes down, and because of its ability to resist Body Slam, as in the double resist normal types, because it's a ghost. Alright, as I always say, please consider donating, contributing to ppoke.com right here. Now, when we go to the rankings, it doesn't take me very long to find Froslass for the Retro Cup. She's just really that good. In fact, she's the number 2 overall, besides the thing that will lick you to death and take your elo, which is Lickitung XL. Anyways, as you see, Froslass is, I would say it's, if you played like before the beginning of the year, there's actually a lot of events and spotlight hours. Snover did have a spotlight hour, so you should have a Froslass or be able to build one. As you see, it's really freaking good. Froslass is basically destroys Altaria, which is probably its biggest sell. I'm probably your biggest target. Altaria Community Day is coming soon, so guess what? Kills Altaria. Froslass does. So Froslass does very well against Altaria and other dragons. And remember, I mentioned the reason why it's also really good is because it covers the psychic types. When you ban dark types and you ban steel types, you have psychics running rampant. They're just extremely powerful. And guess what Froslass is? It's a ghost. And guess what hurts psychic types? Ghost type attacks. So that's why it's just insanely powerful. As you see here, you can actually beat Alola Marowak with Shadow Ball. So if you hit Shadow Ball, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to nuke it. So that's why Alola Marowak is still not really safe against Froslass. If you do Shadow Ball through shields, or if you Shadow Ball with shields down, you will get destroyed. And it's just so powerful with shields and energy advantage that it can take out any of its closers right here. Licky and other things that have Lick will basically give you a really hard time, but you can still do heavy damage against normal types. As you see here, it is the most powerful switch closer and charger in the freaking game. It's good in all positions. Well, not in the game, but in Retro Cup. It's really freaking strong. As you see here, its traits, it's dynamic, it's speed, it's flexible, it's spammy, and it has a ton of shield pressure. It'll mesh well with so many teams. It can take shields with you, for you, or you can leave it in the back and leave shields with it. So because of its pressuring ability, its spam, and it's just insane coverage, it's just so good. I don't even need to show you it as far as leads. In the lead, it's number 4, taking out what I mentioned before. In the closers, it destroys so many things. In the closer, Froslass is number 1, and it can take out, as you see here, it can take out Alola Marowak. If you Shadow Ball through shields, it will die. basically that simple. So it's so good that you definitely expect to see yourself in, if you use it, you're gonna see yourself in the Froslass mirror a lot. Or you're gonna have a situation where someone will try to save shield with Froslass or give it energy lead. If you manage energy well and you manage shield, save it with Froslass, it's gonna run over a lot of things in the Retro Cup. Alright, here's the portion probably one of you skipped to, and here's the ppoke.com matrix. Okay, so we have Froslass. You're always going to use Avalanche, Powder Snow, Shadow Ball. You can use Hex, but the reason you want Powder Snow is just because of Altaria. So you could use it because of Altaria. What I'll do in here, though, is that I'll do Froslass with Hex, just so you can see the difference between both. But because of Altaria, I definitely recommend you use Powder Snow. But Hex isn't a bad idea as well. With Hex, you can take out a Alola Marowak. You could still nuke at Altaria as long as you hit a Avalanche. But as you see here, this is what you get. And then what we're going to do is we have the Rich Cup meta to the right. I have a rank 1, as you see here, and I also have a regular one. So these are the two that I'll have. IVs, I would say get the one as highest ranked as possible. There's no reason to have an attack IV off Froslass. You want a Froslass that can live as much as it can so that you can dish out as much damage as possible. You have the 2-shield scenario right here. We're going to hit battle. So as you see here, in the 2-shield scenario, there is justification to use Hex. With Hex, as you see, even though you lose against Froslass or Abomasnow, you can flip Dugong. So you flip the Ice type R-types. You also win the mirror. So Hex Froslass isn't a bad idea for the fact that you win the mirror. Unless their Froslass has energy lead and shield advantage, then you're just going to lose outright. But as you see here, without Powder Snow, though, you do put yourself in kind of a hole. Because as you see, you will lose against Shadow Hypno. You also lose against Galvantula if you have Hex. With Hex, you beat the Ice-Water hybrid tanks, as in Dugong and Lapras, but it's still very, very risky. Also, with Mew, if you're running the Rock Slide Ice Beam Mew can beat you because of Shadow Claw being super effective against you. Yes, you have Hex, however, because Mew will outpace you because Shadow Claw energy gain, you will lose. So, there's justification for both, but overall, I would say Powder Snow is just much better. That if you can farm down a whole Altaria, you have a lot of energy for the back row. And unless you're using it for a specific there's still specific ways you can use it, but Hex isn't a bad idea. Like I said, not a bad idea, but it depends on your team and what you want to cover. Other than that, it looks like a rank 1, and a regular one don't make much of a difference. There's no 1 HP in a dream scenario if you have a rank 1 or if you have a default. So pretty comfortable whether you have a rank 1 or just a high IV in general. We go to the 1-shield. In the 1-shield, this is what you get. So if we go to the 1-shield, we hit battle. And in the 1-shield, as you see here, 1-shield, you do... So this is where it kind of matters. Actually, it doesn't really matter in general. As you see here, if you have a default one, so a little bit of attack actually goes a long way. With a little bit of attack, you actually beat Shadow Dragonair in the 1-shield. So the default one beats Shadow Dragonair. Hex also beats Shadow Dragonair. So it's kind of crazy. It's a little weird, but... not many differences. In the 1-shield, you will beat Mew versus the 2-shield scenario because you should be able to Hex and Shadow Ball it to death, or you can Hex down Mew pretty hard. But as far as the difference between the 2s and the 1s, not too much of a difference. As you see, you generally beat what you're going to beat. With Powder Snow, you do beat Wish Cash, however, with Hex, you don't. So there is flipping that Wish Cash matchup isn't too special, so it doesn't look like it's too specific to where I'd say it doesn't really matter too much. In the closer, this is where things go pretty ham. So Froslass is the most powerful closer. As you see here, with Powder Snow, there's a lot of crisscross over here. But being able to beat Abomasnow, you beat Cresselia. You're also able to beat Lapras, Mew with a rank 1, so high rank does matter and it's so specific. Yes, you beat Mew in the closer, however, 507 rating isn't too much of an advantage, as in if there's chip damage on your Froslass, this scenario isn't likely going to happen, as in Froslass and Mew. With Hex, you do beat Hypno and Jellicent in the closer, so you beat Hypno and Jellicent, you still beat Altaria, you'll beat Cresselia or Abomasnow, so I would say like Hex is either just as good. With Powder Snow, you do have the ability to do farm down plays, and it allows you to manage energy much better than Hex would, because two-turn fast moves are a lot more flexible versus Hex. Hex is slow, so you're gonna have a little bit of an issue if you're trying to outpace something. Or if for example, if your opponent already has a Frost with energy and shield advantage, it doesn't matter what moveset you have, Powder Snow or Hex, you're going to lose. And if they have energy lead, you're probably going to lose anyway. So again, Powder Snow, in my opinion, Powder Snow will be better. In the 1-0s, not too much of a difference. In the 1-0s, you will defeat most of everything except Regirock, ironically. I don't know too many people that will have a Regirock in this meta, so don't count on it as far as Regirock goes. In the 2-0s, this is where Froslass just kills everything. So another strategy you could do is break both shields, save Frost with 2 shield, and it beats the entire meta outright. Unless your opponent has like energy lead, etc. But even then, it's just so powerful with up shields and up energy. Even in the 2-to-1 scenario, here's what happens. You go into that territory, this is what happens. With the 2-to-1s, you can beat pretty much everything unless you have Hex. So you'll lose against Lickitung with Hex. This is a level 51, so you can lose against a level 50 Lickitung with Hex, and you lose against Regirock. That's why it's another justification. I still think Powder Snow overall is the better option, just because from the data we get here. Beating Lickitung with shield advantage is a big deal, because Lickitung is the most powerful overall Pokemon, and it is a nightmare to face. But if you have Powder Snow, you can do really good. I forgot to mention that's another reason why Hex is kind of iffy. Because if you do have a Hex, yes, you beat the Ghost types. However, the normal types do resist Hex. They'll double resist it. So you put yourself in kind of a hole. It looks like overall Powder Snow is the better one. But like I said, if based on this data, either one can... you could use either one. And it'll be just as a... I think Powder Snow still has the overall more effective, but it's barely effective to where it's really... It depends on what you're trying to cover. With Hex, you win the mirror, you also cover the Ghost types harder. With Powder Snow, you have overall coverage more, so it's really up to you. Alright, so as far as the team builder goes, here's what you do. So, Froslass basically works as well. I've done plenty of team building videos. Froslass is in my top 5 budget teams just because as a budget pick, it's pretty much really good. And if you've seen it before in the Holiday Cup, so Froslass does have long-term use, especially for like future cups. Because of its ghost type coverage and the ability to just be a massive like... It fires a lot of charge moves, okay? That's why it's so good. But with Froslass, the reason being is that it's just like... It's a good long-term investment. I guess that's the way to put it together. It was for the Holiday Cup. You could see here. It's even good in regular Go Battle League, depending on like what the Specialized Cup is, or you could even use it in just a regular team. And it with energy and shield advantage, it's just an absolute destroyer. So, a good core that I like is Altaria Froslass, just because Froslass, the Ghost type, covers Altaria's weaknesses in the lead. Now, of course, Altaria is kind of susceptible to getting destroyed by Ice types itself. However, as you see here, it's very powerful. I could literally put, because it's the strongest, like, safe switch / closer, I could just put it with a bunch of things and you'll just have really good ratings across the board. As you see here, I just put Cresselia with it, does really good, covers a lot of ground. The Hex one even does good. Hex is even better. So, for example, if you throw a Froslass into your opponent and as a safe switch and you beat other Froslasses in the mirror as long as that has Powder Snow. So as you see here, it says Froslass is your biggest weakness. However, if you are in even shield scenarios or if you have more energy than their Froslass, Hex, as we saw in the Matrix, does beat Froslass in the mirror. So a Froslass with Powder Snow, as long as it doesn't have energy advantage, etc., will lose against a Hex Froslass. So it's, again, you could use either one, still very effective. You can even use Froslass in the lead if you want to. Froslass, let's do something like Hypno, Froslass, Hypno. And then, what do we get? So, see with Froslass, Froslass just blends well with so many teams because of its ability to safe switch or just do a humongous mad damage. If you put Froslass, Hypno, and Lickitung, here's what happens. That's a Lickitung XL. Really, still really freaking good. 699 rating. Well, this one's not really that good, but again, Froslass, Hypno. If you want a Froslass and a Hypno together, let's see. If I'm looking at, you already cover fighting type, so it doesn't really matter that much. However, the Lickitung does give you kind of a problem because of Hypno, etc. So if we're gonna put something in the back, we need something that beats psychic types in general, or actually fighting types, because again, like lick damage is probably gonna be it's gonna be lick damage. So as you see here, bang, pretty dang good. 644, pretty solid team. Only losing to Dragonite and Charizard really hard, and pretty much beats a lot of other things, but it's just really good. Like, you could core Froslass with so many things. Like, Froslass is just an absolute destroyer. She's gonna do really well for you. preferably in the switch/closing scenario, you can leave Froslass with shields. You can leave Froslass shields, give it energy lead, and it'll absolutely destroy and run over your opponent. As you see here, if we just use Lickitung on it, if we choose the Lickitung and Froslass together, it's a very powerful core. Just because you have the strongest lead, and then you have the strongest switch. So you put these two together, they cover a lot of the meta. And then you just put something in the back, like the Oxus defense, and you have an absolute destroyer core of a team. As you see here, bang! Really good team across the board. Lickitung and Froslass pair well together just because Lickitung's super thick, and you can essentially use Lickitung to either break your opponent's shields in front, outright win the lead, or you could just sacrifice Lickitung, have Froslass farm something down with energy, and do a lot of fancy plays. Again, Froslass will build well with a lot of things. If you're looking for budget, look at my budget team video. Froslass goes really well with Altaria, and they really cover each other very well. So if you're looking for budget, there you go. You could core, like this cores very well. You could even put it with something like Wishcash. Wishcash and Froslass can core together well, as you see here. Bang, still does really well. So it's really up to you, but I definitely recommend that you leave Froslass either in the back as a switch or a closer, because say if you end up in a situation where you know you could sweep your opponent, which by just saving your shields on Froslass, it's a huge advantage for you to just leave your Froslass in the back. Again, the most powerful switch and closer, so preferably you leave in the back. Nothing wrong with leading with though. If you want to leave Froslass in the lead, you can use Froslass to pressure opponent's shields and then just sweep with your back row, either or. But both strategies are very effective. It's really up to you. Again, Hex Froslass also is really good, but keep in mind, based on the matrix of what you lose against. Yes, you have a strong matchup against ghost types and psychic types, etc. However, that 2-turn versus 3-turn move kind of deal might actually like put you behind. So just keep in mind that Hex does take longer to charge. So if you're trying to do and get energy lead, depending on like what you're facing, you might Powder Snow overall is just better in my opinion. And that's all, guys. Again, Froslass is really good as a switch and closer. It's the most powerful switch and closer. If you have one, it'll do very well for you. If you don't have one yet, it's a really good long-term investment. Froslass, like I mentioned before, was useful in the Holiday Cup and probably for future cups. If they do Holiday Cup again, Froslass is there. If they do some kind of ice type meta, you are ice type, something of that sort, you could expect Froslass to be up pretty high up on the switch category, just because of how fast it charges energy and just its coverage overall. So I definitely recommend, even if you're really iffy about building one just for the Retro Cup, I promise you in long term it will have long term use. I've used mine. I think I've had my Froslass. I caught my Froslass in Yokohama Go Fest, so I went to Yokohama Go Fest and I actually caught a really good shiny one, and I've been using that one for PvP for the past like I think 2 years before Go Battle League. When I do Silph tournaments, it's still very, very useful. So Froslass again will give you a lot of long-term use. If you don't have one, you can replace Froslass. There are replacements for switch and closers like Hypnos, etc. So there are replacements for Froslass. However, expect to see it a lot for the Retro Cup just because of what it's really overpowered, basically. And what's really great about Froslass, it's not Legendary or XL, so it's not that hard to find. So, but my biggest sell to you, it does have long-term use. Again, Froslass, either Hex or Powder Snow works for you. I would test it out a little bit, see which one you're comfortable with, but overall, I really do think Powder Snow takes the cake. You have, because of it being a 2-turn move and Powder Snow being buffed, it's really, really good in my opinion. So, definitely recommend Powder Snow Froslass. If you guys haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets. I hope you guys are doing very, very well. We still have a lot of time left. I think like 2-3 weeks left in the season, so don't sweat it. You guys still have plenty of time if you're trying to make Legend, or if you've already reached your goals. Hopefully you have. Again, good luck on your Go Battle League sets. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video.